In the world of fermentation, fermented mustards are one of the easiest to do, especially if you're just starting out. Very delicious yet simple mustard to make. I'm going to show you how to ferment it, and then I'm going to show you a really delicious way to use it. Rub it on the outside of a pork loin, throw it on a smoker, smoked tomato, ghost cheese. Delicious. First up, we have ingredients. I'll throw them up on the screen right here. We have 195 grams of yellow mustard. I'm using yellow mustard. You could do equal parts yellow mustard, brown mustard, just kind of whatever you want to do with that. I have 2 ghost peppers right off my plants that I snipped off of them this morning. 300 milliliters of filtered water, fine sea salt, 1/8 of a cup of raw apple cider vinegar, and 1/8 of a cup of brine from a previous ferment. It really helps jumpstart the fermentation process itself. Crush up about 1/3 of these mustard seeds. That's gonna help give the final mustard a nice little flavor profile. It's gonna help just kind of bloom it up a little bit more. Mortar and pestle is what you need for that. I'm not looking to do a fine powder. I'm just trying to, split them basically. So a little thing about ghost peppers, they're very, very spicy, all right? They sit about 800,000 to 1,000,000 Scoville heat units. So when you're working with them, you need to wear rubber gloves. I don't have any, but you just got to be careful. So I'm just holding it right down to the stem of it, and I'm not going to touch the pepper at all with my hands. If you want to remove the seeds and the placenta, then obviously feel free to do so, right? Really not looking to touch any of these with my bare hands. The recipe as written has 8 grams of fine sea salt in it. It's about 1.5 teaspoons of fine sea salt if you didn't want to weigh it out. Put a dish on the scale and just weigh out 8 grams of fine sea salt. Non-iodized because I don't like the flavor of iodized salt. It's kind of a cool thing about using a little dish like this. If you go over the amount of salt, then you just take pinches of it out and choke it if you need to do so. So to that, I have the brine of a previous ferment, 1/8 cup of raw apple cider vinegar, 300 milliliters of filtered water. You could use bottled water, and just advise to stay away from tap water if you can. Give that a mix. So there should be enough vinegar and brine in there that the pH on it should be less than 4.6 already, which is kind of what I want. Yeah, 3.8, 3.7, 3.8 pH. As the fermentation process kind of goes along, you'll see little signs of fermentation bubbles. I call it like carbonation kind of thing. You could let this ferment for a month if you want to. It's on the countertop, room temperature, of course, away from direct sunlight. I want to check the pH on this before I do make the mustard. I just want to make sure that the fermentation process was successful, right? So I'm actually really happy with that. 3.5 is definitely below 4.6 threshold. So all this, brine and all. Ooh, that smells so good, man. Curious to how spicy this is. I only put 1 ghost pepper in right now, just because I wanted to see how spicy it was gonna be. It's gonna blitz this up. This mustard's pretty easy to throw together. Let's see how it is. A little bitter still, but as it sits in the refrigerator for a couple days, that bitterness will kind of tone down a little bit. That was really, really good flavor. It's not overly spicy either. It just has a nice little hit to it, nothing bad. But obviously if you want to have it really spicy, then obviously add a little bit more peppers. It's delicious, man. It's actually kind of nice to enjoy the flavor of a ghost pepper and not have your mouth get destroyed by how hot it is, you know what I mean? To each their own, right? So if you want it a lot more spicy, then go ahead and add a bit more ghost pepper to it. Very delicious yet simple mustard to make. I'll show you a kick-ass recipe to go along with it, right? Rub the outside of a pork loin with it, throw it on the smoker, slice some tomatoes, smoke them, and then some ghost cheese. Sound good?
With the pork loin, I'm trimming off any kind of excess fat and silver skin. Season all sides with salt and freshly cracked black pepper. Now we take this delicious ghost pepper mustard and pat it on all sides of the pork loin. Now I have my smoker preheated at 275 degrees Fahrenheit. This is going to cook relatively quickly, so I'm going to monitor the temperature, and when it reaches a set temperature at 140 degrees, my thermometer will beep. Now while that pork loin is smoking, slice the Roma tomato, season it with salt and pepper. Now that the target temperature has been achieved, we're going to remove the pork loin, put it on a plate, and wrap it with some tin foil and allow it to rest for about 30 minutes. This will be just enough time for us to put the tomato slices on the smoker. I'm putting them on the grill grate closest to the smoke box, that way they get a little bit of heat to them and a nice hit of flavor of smoke. The tomatoes will be done in about 10 to 15 minutes. With the pork loin now properly rested, I'm going to put it on a cutting board and take some thin slices out of it. I'd say about 1/4 of an inch thick. I bought a delicious goat's cheese spread that I'm smearing on top of that smoked tomato. On top of that tomato, we're taking that smoked pork loin that has that ghost pepper mustard on top of it. So now we have that smoked tomato, we have a little bit of acidic flavor from the goat's cheese, and then that delicious spicy ghost pepper mustard and that smoked pork loin. Absolutely delicious flavor combination on this.